This is Danny Dorman. The following is an edited version of the full interview. To find the full interview, please subscribe, and hopefully this will answer all of your questions during this important voting season. Thank you. Coffee with Karen. I have water, you have water.
I have water too.
And I'm glad I have water here. I didn't even realize I did. So my last question is, and it's going to be three-part. So, because
okay,
I stuck myself with the last question, so I got to milk it for all it is. One, if you were, I won't say it, I'll say when. I'll say that to all the candidates. One of you got to be, so I'm going to be right with one of you. So when you become mayor, what will be your top, I'm stuck on the number 5, so that's my shtick, 5. So what will be your top 5? And let's presume it's clear skies. So let's say there's nothing that will stop you from doing it. What would be your top 5 goals?
Sky's the limit. Improving the fire protection district and getting the amount of stations on board that we need to provide the adequate services, above and beyond services, not just adequate services for our community. That would be a number 1 priority. Number 2 is making our community safer through the police department. We were supposed to bring on a 5th beat, and part of that also included having 2 quality of life officers who help with the homeless problem and help for things within the community that need resolution, that takes more time than what an officer who's on a beat can do. We've had 4 officers or 4 beats per shift for the last 15 years. Back when the population was about 40,000, we're now at 66, so we have the same amount of officers patrolling a much larger area. So that's a priority. Economic development, helping our residents or our small businesses recover. And I've already started by asking for either grants to help them in their need, helping them with workshops to help them grow, or some one-on-one counseling. And that should be coming back to us at our next city council meeting to determine whether or not the rest of the council feels that we need to spend staff time and money on it. So that's coming back in October. And pushing through on our economic development. We need to be able to work with our neighboring cities to market this area as an opportunity zone. We already have a memorandum of understanding with them through the Northern Waterfront Economic Development Initiative to do just that, but it's stalled. So we need to get back on board and work with our neighboring cities to market this area together and drive businesses out here, because then they look at us as a much bigger area and the opportunities are there. We also need to work with helping the homelessness in this city. There are tents popping up all over the place. I got a report that there was behind Rite Aid by the railroad tracks, that there were tents being popped up over there. Over there off of O'Hara, there's, underneath the bridge, there's, homeless there. And we need to look at that because, as COVID is lifted, as the foreclosure and the evictions are reinstated to be able to be done, we may be seeing more and more families who are losing their homes because they couldn't afford to pay the rent. And while they're staying in there now, those numbers just keep building every month, and so, they're in a very difficult situation to be able to not be able to pay those things.
Sure.
And so we're going to be seeing more homeless. We may be seeing families living in cars, and we need to work with the county to help to make a difference and find solutions.
Okay. Now, the second part of that three-part question, because it seems like this is a paradox. Homelessness. We're building new homes, but we are, for terrible reasons, gaining homes. So how do you jive those two? If let's say only 5%, and again, I know this is a terrible fact, and I'm hoping I'm highballing this number, but let's say 5% of the homes, the people living in these homes, become homeless or move out because they can't afford to live here anymore. Oh, let's say that number is 2,000. I'll say 1,000, just 1,000 homes. But we're building 20,000 homes. So how do you jive that if we're trying to keep our residents from living on the streets or from moving out? How do we jive that with bringing in new homes with the thought of bringing out people when we have our own people losing homes?
Well, the 20,000 homes is a very high number, considering we already have we have a little less than 20,000 right now in our city.
Okay, no, let's make it 5,000.
So 20,000 is
okay.
We probably build out. We are probably about 6,500 more homes, and 45 of those are multifamily units.
Okay. Let's balance it out. I threw out a high number. So let's say 1,000 poor residents lose their homes while you're building 1,000 new homes. So that's a net positive of 2,000 dwellings, but one directly impacts the citizens of today, where the other, directly impacts new money coming in. So how does that jive?
So when I got on the council, one of the things that I really worked towards was affordable homes, and that I pushed to have a housing subcommittee done, because we needed to determine. Well, at that time, the city was only collecting 2% in lieu fees for all new homes. So let's say they had 100 homes built. 2% of those homes would have to be affordable homes, and the developer would either have to build 2 homes in their development that were affordable. They're inclusionary homes. They couldn't be in the same location in that development. And they would be for affordable. Let's say you have a family of 4 making between, this is low income, making between 66,000 and I think it's 91,000. If you're a family of 4, you are considered low income, making between 66 and 91,000. You would qualify for a low income home. It's not Section 8.
Mm-hmm.
You could purchase this home for, I think it's like $250,000. You'd be able to purchase that home. And I remember when we purchased our home on our first home here, that was $212,000. We were paying tax and assessments at and the principal on that and interest was $1,500 a month, and that was at a 5.75% interest rate. And we know those interest rates are down around 2%. So let's say that they were only paying $1,500. That would help families be able to purchase a home with a 40-year grant restricted deed on it. There's also rental units that we'd be able to add on to that. So we're at 2%. I said we need to increase that. They had decreased it in 2012 because of the recession. Mm-hmm. Increased it from 10% down to 2%. And I said it's time to bring those numbers back up. So once we did the study, we were able to increase 6% this year, and next year we go to 10%. So any of those new developers who come in, anything over 25, I think it's over 25 homes in their subdivision, they would have to provide this year 6% of those homes would have to be affordable housing, or next year it would have to be 10% of those homes would have to be affordable housing. And I don't want them to give us in lieu fees. We have about $4 million in lieu fees that we've collected to try to partner with a affordable housing nonprofit to build like apartment complexes or such. And so I have heard that we are currently working with somebody, but I don't know where in the process that is to build that complex with that 4 million. But I want them to be homes that they can move into. In an apartment complex, a market rate apartment complex, I want there to be affordable units within that apartment complex to be able to rent. And that's what will help some of these people, not all of them. But then also, as I said, working with the county. Next week on the 29th, the police chief at 5 o'clock will have a virtual town hall meeting regarding the unsheltered or homelessness. And so what we can do, what we can't do, and what types of services are available. And I think even getting out there and walking with our core team is a coordinated outreach referral engagement. I believe that's what the acronym stands for, but it's a county group that goes out there and provides services to the homeless, helps to get them into programs or into a shelter, and help them so they ultimately become, be able to live in a home again. And be able to walk out there with them, help to identify the ones who might need mental health. And we do work with a county agency that also comes out to provide mental health support to those who need it. And so that's going to be very vital as we see people losing their homes, living in their cars, and being able to help them recover and get back into a home.
Okay. I don't know if you answered the question, but I'm going to rephrase. Okay. Again, I'll even say, let's say 5 homes. You have 5 people who get ready to get booted. And I apologize to you 5, okay, because I'm sure you're watching. But there's empathy, there's sympathy, but it still honestly doesn't jive with 5 new homes. Now, again, I'm not trying to paint you in a corner. This is more, we know that there are people who are homeless right now. We also know that there are people who will soon be homeless. And so I'm addressing those who are soon to be homeless. See, I've been there. I've been 1 month away from foreclosure. So I know what it's like. Unlike the recession of the market, whatever you want to call it, the Great Recession of 2000.
I was a single parent raising a toddler, and I also lived paycheck to paycheck, and at times had an inability to pay my PG&E. So right. I've been there.
And that's great. So then you know the embarrassment, you're doing everything you can. So it's great that you know that, because I'm asking on behalf of those people who are now in the boat I was in and the boat you were in. And I don't know, we both know that, yes, there is the moratorium on rentals. I'm not sure if it's the same for mortgages, because
if it's an FHA loan, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans, those have a moratorium on them.
Okay, so then what is it that the city can do? I mean, you know, even something I'm going to say as simple as, but you know, the consideration of maybe dipping into the slush fund to keep people in their homes instead of dealing with them after the fact, after they're living in their cars or after they're moving out of the area. And this is the home they built or had built or homes that they've had for generations. But now, through necessarily no fault of their own, they're in this predicament. You know, how can the city do something like that? You know, because I think you guys did it with restaurants, not saving them, but giving them some type of financial break so that they wouldn't leave. Now, I may be wrong in that.
Yeah,
What can
no,
we do for our citizens?
we provided $5,000 grants through our economic development. You know, there's funding that comes in through that. Plus, there was CARES Act funding that comes in, and so the last part of our funding that we did on for restaurants throughout town for that came from CARES Act. So that was federal funds that came in to help businesses who. So that was available. There's also funding that's available through the Contra Costa Continuum of Care for people who are on the verge of losing their homes. They can get help through them for funding.